Bro, I didn't think runners, again, they could be doing that too. I mean, at this point, bro, just get them doing ballet at this point. Anyways, though, the Chargers offensive line, they need to get some training for them because, my goodness, they were that bad last year. But how bad are they now? And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the NFL. Please like and subscribe. Hope y'all are ready for the Los Angeles Chargers 2026 roster grades. This is, again, it's a team that the past, what is it now, 2 seasons has made the playoffs. And, I mean, Justin Herbert, three times he's made the playoffs. And every single one, he has lost. He's 0-3. We'll get into that in a minute. Again, I don't want to jump the gun too much on this. This is a very interesting quarterback room. But, again, if you have not watched past roster grades, we always start off the quarterback. We go from there to the offensive line, which concludes the offense. I'll give you guys the offensive grade. Then obviously defense grade, then the overall roster grade. If you have not watched past ones, though, go watch the second timestamp in the Jaguars roster grade. That was the first one we did. I explained everything I did so you guys know what's going on. Anyways, though, if you're here as a Chargers fan just to see how good this offensive line has gotten, I mean, spoiler alert, is it really that much better? I mean, but we will start out with Justin Herbert. But before we get, I am dragging this. Before we get into him, we will be looking at DJ Ugabadugi, who I'm still stunned is on this roster. I mean, like, again, he was legitimately one of the worst quarterbacks in the country that last year in 2024. Last year, everyone talks about the meme game he had again to open up the the season with the Hall of Fame game. Again, only throw 2 picks in that game. It's absolutely ridiculous. But DJ Ugabadugi, he's technically still on the Chargers, and I mean, yeah, it's crazy that that's the case, but it is the case. So I mean, that's cool. But yeah, obviously he's something else. Then you got Trey Lance as the backup to Justin Herbert. Past really 2 years, he's been basically a spot starter for he's basically been a perennial Week 18 quarterback, which isn't a bad thing. That means he's on good teams. But you look at what's going on here again. If you don't remember Trey Lance, 2019 he threw 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Again, yeah, there we go. 28. Again, this is just that, guys. You can't teach this. You just can't teach it. That's simple. Can't teach that. And then again, he only played 1 game in 2020 where you're in for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, yeah. And then obviously he got drafted 3rd overall, but the Niners, they traded the farm for him. They got lucky because of Brock Purdy. Y'all know the story. But yeah, Trey Lance, is he the worst backup in the league? No, because he, again, has physical traits that are definitely there. But obviously he sucks. So does it really matter? That's what I'm saying. But again, there's definitely at least a ceiling there. And then obviously go to Justin Herbert, who very similar to Trey Lance in terms of the physical capabilities, but he actually, knows what's going on. Biggest thing with Justin is he sucks in the playoffs, and he took how many sacks? 54 sacks last year. Mostly not his fault. I don't want to take the casual end there. Again, I like to add more nuance to that, but I'm not going to lie, guys. That offensive line very consistently could not hold a fluid pocket for Herbert to step up and do and make throws downfield. Obviously, throwing 13 picks after a 3-pick year is pretty outrageous. Again, you don't really see that ever happening. I will say his ability to handle pressure, at least statistically and on tape a lot of times, did see a big drop last year. Still, when you look at this guy, Justin Herbert the past, really, I'm going to say, you really look back at that 2022 season where it really started, even though he threw for 4,800 yards. He really hasn't been able to throw the ball down the field really effectively enough at all. Last year was a little bit more consistent, but again, he's still a guy, you look at him, he has, again, one of the best arms. I'd probably say that, again, at least a top 5 arm in the NFL. He's not throwing the ball downfield really enough, and I think, again, a guy like this coming in here will definitely help that. But yeah, Justin Herbert, again, he's one of the most talented quarterbacks in football. It's just the fact, again, he still doesn't want a playoff game. A lot of these narrative things are really what are kind of hampering his ability there. I'm still going to give him an A. Why is that so zoomed in? What are we doing? I'm going to say an A. Minus, I guess, he's a top 10 quarterback. That's what I'm saying. What did I give? I think I gave Drake. Him and Drake May are pretty damn close, guys. I'm going to say an A for Justin Herbert. No, we're doing A minus. This is tough. This is so tough. I'll say an A. I trust Justin Herbert. But, guys, if we're just talking about, in the top 10 quarterback rankings, again, he really struggles because of the fact that this is a guy. He has not won a playoff game yet, guys. He has been in the NFL for 6 seasons. Again, he's an elite quarterback. He's not won a playoff game. That just it can't happen. It's just that simple. But yeah, he's still an elite quarterback, so I will give him that. But I want to give him an A-. I just can't, though. He's too talented for that just to be the case, at least with me. But that's all I have for Justin Herbert. Let's get into this skill positions, which, again, is a pretty bizarre group. All right, guys, now moving to the skill position group here for the Chargers. This is really a group that, again, has actually seen at least some change overall, but it's still a group that you look at and you're like, yeah, is it really going to work with these big teams? And again, it's like, how much is really the thing with that? You started the Omar and Hampton, who had an injury-riddled rookie season. When he did play, he still put up pretty damn good numbers. He's obviously the most explosive player in this offense, beyond the fact of, again, really just looking at, again, we're going to get out of him on a consistent basis. Again, he was a first-round pick for a reason. I still think he's an immense talent out of the backfield. You just get great versatility in terms of what you're going to see as a running game because of the fact that he has that home run threat. And again, a lot of these kind of seam-based concepts, really where you're looking for him to beat the C-gap, that sort of leverage you have as an offense is something that is very hard to kind of debate with. But still, you look at Omar Hampton, and I'm like, this is a dude that is going to be definitely a RB1 number 1. Again, if he played the whole season, he would have had 1,000 yards. Just the fact that, again, looking at him as a pass protector, it's just kind of a little bit of a thing like, is he really that good? But yeah, Omar Hampton should be a pretty damn good player this year. I think, again, at least in terms of performance, he was better than Ashton Genty last year. But again, the fact he didn't stay healthy and... again, the offensive line didn't really do him any favors. I think he's kind of, again, at least going up on his case. Still, though, again, the fact he wasn't healthy is definitely a little bit of a concern. New Keaton Mitchell, speaking of guys who can't stay healthy. Last year, I mean, guys, there's really no other way to put it. Again, when he's, again, 100%, which for most of last year he is one of the most explosive running backs in football. I'm not going to say on a consistent basis, but this is a guy that has a home run threat every single play, and the biggest thing is he is an effective runner out of the shotgun. It's very rare to find guys like that, but it's really his instincts. He operates so well under there. Obviously, he's not going to break a crap ton of tackles. Obviously, he's not going to work well under center when you have a quarterback that's basically having a pulling guard. He has to basically read off that block, and if he needs to bail the team out with a broken tackle in there, it's just not going to happen. But Keaton Mitchell, you have him in that shotgun, look on third down. You have him in the situation where you're going to try to break a big run, pitch outside, stuff like that. This is a dude that is going to get that done, and I think, again, for a backup running back in just terms of the potential there, you got a really good 1-2 punch there. Again, both can't stay healthy, though. Keep that in mind. Kamani Valdell, Jared Patterson's here, too. He's a dog. I mean, he's not great, but he's definitely a dog. He actually had 600 yards last year. He was a starter for, again, at least part of the season. 2024, that was the year he had that big catch and run, that 38-yard touchdown or something like that. He had a big run versus Broncos back in 2024. But he's a reliable guy in the field. Again, you're not going to get very consistent play out of him just because of the fact that he's not a guy that at least effectively can read blocks, especially off of especially those ISO concepts. That was something he struggled with last year. But so, again, you're going to get very consistent play out of him outside of that, which is, well, definitely a little bit of a challenge. You can still work with him. He has, again, proven to be good enough player to play. So, with that said, I'm going to probably give them a B. I want to give them a B+. It's just the fact their top two guys are have an injury history or an issue, but very dynamic. Again, we're talking about potential here. This is a group that could easily get in the A tier at the end of the season if Hampton has that type of season. But I really like where this group is going. It's just the fact that it hasn't really been proven yet. So I have to give them a 21 instead of, again, I want to give them a B+, but we're going to stick with a B there. Now move to wide receiver. If you did not watch the again, off-season short for the Chargers, which came out a couple days ago, I did go through the Chargers receiving core. And again, it's not the greatest. Ladd McConkey, he looked like, again, he was gonna have a crazy career after that rookie season. Really the biggest problem with him last year is the fact that he couldn't really get off the line effectively enough to kind of be able to beat guys in terms of his separation consistently. Because his separation still was there in terms of the metrics. On top of the fact that I really liked his route nuance kind of going up last year. There were a lot of routes you saw that he really never ran them the same, which for a guy like Justin Herbert, the fact they were still on the same page, I think was very incredible in that fact. But again, also his yak ability went up. So while last year statistically was definitely a down year, and for a lot of the season he kind of just didn't do a lot, I think the fact that he can fix his release hitch, also on top of the fact that his release in general needs to get better, and some of his routes downfield need to be a little bit more threatening. If those really three things can kind of come to fruition, there's really no reason Ladd can't get back to even being better than he was as a rookie, or just back on that trajectory. You got Quentin Johnson, who again has put a back-to-back 700-yard season with 8 touchdowns after again that abysmal rookie season. He's still dropping passes. He's still not a guy that's going to reliably be able to sit down on a route and really create a lot of separation, but he's still a dynamic player at the end of the day, and you need this guy on the field pretty consistently. I still don't think he's really that great of a player, but the fact that you do get that upside with again in terms of with him in your offense, on top of the fact that he is a guy that kind of free up Ladd McConkey with him being the X, it's kind of hard to debate that. Again, he is definitely a kind of definitely a straight line player with what you can do with him, but he's still a guy again that he just gives you too much of a high of a ceiling to kind of not put on the field. But still, again, you're definitely getting some frustrating things with him. Trey Harris, last year he was out there. Was he doing a lot? Not really. He again really at Ole Miss when you look at him coming out, guys, he was really never a guy you look at as again this consistently big play dude, because of the fact that he's more of this kind of jump ball back shoulder guy, which is what he was last year. It's just like that. I think if you can become a little bit more of a run blocker, he can definitely be a guy you could again be fine with putting on the field. You got Brennan Thompson. Again, he's absolute just dynamite. This is a guy, again, really outside of Jalen Guyton, the Chargers haven't had this straight, true speedster. Again, they look to a guy like Quentin Johnson to be that big play guy. Obviously, Ladd McConkey is his own thing. So, if Brennan Thompson can go out there and just kind of take the top of the defense, hell, if he's just a decoy like Tutu was with the other team in LA, there's really no reason you're not going to get good play out of Brennan Thompson. Was he overdrafted? Probably. He doesn't really give you the physicality you really need out of an NFL player to kind of consistently put on the field. But again, if he's a flash in the pan, that's really all they need out of him. Kendrick Lambert-Smith, this is a guy that actually has pretty strong hands in my opinion. Again, I really liked how he did in that Chiefs game where he had his lone touchdown. His routes a lot of times were very stiff. There's not a lot of bend to them in terms of, again, trying to, seam up the field. But the fact that he's still able to, create at least enough of a stress on the cornerback to, anticipate what he's going to do is something that I think is kind of an innate ability of his that will help him get on the field more. But still, he's a guy that, again, still hasn't really proven that he can be a consistent player. Darius Davis is a bona fide returner, and that's really about it. They don't have much depth at receiver here. For me, I'm going to give them a C plus. Probably a C, to be honest with you guys. Ladd McConkey didn't play nearly as good enough to be a number one receiver last year. We'll give it. This is tough. I got to give it a C, guys. As good as Ladd McConkey, I think, will be, and as good he has been in the past, and Quentin Johnson has proven to be a decent player. After that, you really can't even justify any of these guys even being like solid fours. So for that reason, I got to give them a C. This might be a little bit harsh for some people, but I don't really love the vibes here. You could argue it's a C plus. That's probably honestly where I'll put it. But yeah, this receiving core, I don't really love what's going on here, but I'll give it a C plus. I caved. Anyways, though, moving to tight end now, Orlando Gadsden. This is a dude that, again, had that one massive game versus the Vikings on Thursday Night Football, and then the week after was pretty damn good, but kind of faded after that. He's a guy that is a kind of a unicorn in the fact that he's 6'5", but also gives you kind of the elusiveness and the ability to kind of, again, extend the play that a lot of other tight ends just aren't able to. Not looking at David Njoku, he's able to. But again, he's just got that rare ability, despite the fact he's an atrocious blocker and he can really barely run any route that's not a crosser or really just a shallow sort of, again, field stretcher there. You also have David Njoku, who's kind of fallen off a cliff at this point. He's old. 29, I guess, not that old. But again, injuries have definitely taken him. Last year, he kind of lost his starting job to Harold Fannin. 2024, again, he was fine. Again, honestly, probably better than he was in 2023 even. But David Njoku's on the field. He's going to be a downfield threat as a receiver, one of the more athletic tight ends in football. And even then, he's still a solid enough blocker, so that's good. But Shari Kohler, I'm going to guess, is going to take a lot of those responsibilities anyway. And again, he was pretty good with, again, with Jim Harbaugh's brother last year, so keep that in mind. But yeah, for this tight end room, I'm going to give it a B. I like what's going on here. I don't think Gadsden is, again, consistent enough to really be, again, I guess a truly above average guy. David Njoku's obviously shown that in the past, and Charlie Kohler is a good guy. I like what's going on here. I'm going to say it's a B there, which is going to come out to 14 points. No, 16. I'm not going to, again, snuff you guys there. 16 points over tight end. That's all I have with that. Let's get in this offensive line before the overall offensive grade is, calculated. Alright guys, we are now on to the offensive line for the Chargers. Again, this is a group that has had I'd probably say a tumultuous run here, to be honest with you guys, especially over last year. Again, this is a group that you look at, again, cumulatively, you've had, again, a crap ton of injuries with Rashawn Slater. Joe Alt, again, great rookie season. Last year, got injured. And again, the biggest thing with Joe Alt you look at coming out of college was, this is a guy you throw a right tackle, or left tackle actually, but right tackle, and you don't have to worry about him for the rest of his career. You gotta worry about him now. So I guess that sort of notion in the draft process is like, what the fuck? But anyways, the rest of this offensive line is not very good. We'll just put it like that. It didn't really get much better. Rashawn Slater, he's obviously an elite player when he's on the field. One of the best tackles in football. I'm not going to say he is top 5, but he's still top 10. So pretty close enough. And again, if you have any, again, complaints, I don't know. Say it now or forever hold your peace. But again, as you see him, 2021, he was probably the best rookie player we've seen in a while at tackle, other than Quentin Nelson that 2021 season. He was just downright, amazing. 2022, he tore his Achilles. 2023, he was great. Last year, or no, he wasn't great. He had his ups and downs in 2023. Still was really good in my opinion, though. And then obviously 2024, he didn't play at all last year. He got injured in training camp. But 2024 was his season as well. So Rashawn Slater, he has had a pretty damn good career up to this point, other than the fact that he's been injured, and I don't really expect him to have a great season because when he came back from 2023, he wasn't exactly very good. Trey Pipkins is backup. He has been a below-average player, really any sort of statistical measure you can think of. It's just because of the fact that he can't stop power, and he has very poor technique with his second punch, and the fact that that's really, again, he's always had a solid enough first punch where that can kind of, again, you can kind of get around him playing because it's not that big of a risk, but again, when it gets to that second punch, good tackle, good pass rushers, they're going to be able to deflect that. that, counter it, and just completely, do their thing, and then he just won't have really an answer for it, and that's why he is, again, not a great player to have on the field, but he does have a lot of experience, and he is a guy, again, like I said, that has a couple good traits that are playable. Isaiah Worley gets to the third string. Let's see if he makes the roster. Out of Oregon, he's a UDFA. He's just straight up not talented enough, in my opinion, to, again, be able to hang with some of these, again, just straight up like Twitch freaks off the edge, but still he does have at least somewhat of a role in terms of being able to sustain blocks. Again, if he's able to, again, lock in, but that doesn't always happen. Jake Slaughter, he's their left guard. This is a dude out of Florida that I think was a aggressive pick by them because of the fact that you're going to really stress his run blocking, because of the fact that he's really a center coming out, and also the fact that as a pass blocker, he is really his game is all predicated on his jump off the line. If he gets a good jump, he is usually in a good position because he can't anchor pretty well. But if he's in a spot where he's a little bit more frantic and kind of has to make blocks off rhythm, it's very, very hard for him to kind of even create any sort of displacement as a run blocker. In terms of his pass blocking, he's not really aggressive enough, or I'd probably say reaction, doesn't have really the reaction time to really be able to kind of make up for some of those deficiencies. So Jake Slaughter, kind of you're playing a fun game with him, but again, he's a tenacious run blocker, so it'll be interesting to see how that again develops here. Trevor Penning, I don't even know what to say. Again, kicking him in the guard hasn't really done a ton. I guess if we look at him as a tackle, he's a atrocious pass blocker on the interior. He's more of average, because again, that's kind of what happens when you do that, obviously. As a run blocker, still takes a ton of penalties, but he at least is doing something. Tyler Biadasz, again, you look at his career so far, it's kind of been like he was great first couple years with Cowboys. Again, he had 2 years with Washington, again, after getting traded, and he really wasn't that good at all. Comes over here to the Chargers. He is a guy I think that will be a solid player in them, especially with the scheme. He's going to be able to really attack downhill a lot more. That's not really something the Commanders wanted him to do. And also, if we look at him laterally, the fact that he is able to, again, kind of isolate these faster defensive tackles is going to be a very interesting, again, kind of niche in this offense. You have Josh Kalkenberger, or Caitlinberger. This is a guy that I guarantee you've never heard of or have never seen play. And if you have, I'd love to hear about him. Cole Strange, he's a bust, but he isn't actually too bad. But yeah, he sucks. Then you got Logan Taylor out of BC. This is a guy that, in my opinion, just is not athletically gifted enough to hang with guys in the league. And you have Joe Alt, we already talked about him. Again, he obviously had the injury issues last year, but when he's on the field, he's obviously elite. You have Travis Burke, too, out of Memphis, who is a good player. He's very good at... No, he's not very good at... I think in terms of inside pressure, he gave up like 4 in total last year. It's pretty ridiculous. But you can't beat him to the outside shoulder if you do a good head pump here and there. But in my opinion, this offensive line is far from really even okay at this point. I'm going to give it a C. Again, the talent is there. You've got Jake Slaughter, I think, will really turn into a good player. Tyler Biadasz has been, again, a Pro Bowl caliber player in the past. Again, take that with what you will. And you have 2 elite tackles when they're healthy. But other than that, it's kind of like, what the hell is going on? I got to give it a C because of how bad it was last year. Again, I still think it was a little bit overblown, but I'm not really convinced of this offensive line right now. 55, 21, 18, 16, and 10. That's going to give us 120 points for this offense. Again, there's definitely talent there. That's going to put them in the B tier, which I think is where they belong. This offense, honestly, should be very consistent this year. I don't really see a reason they can't average over, what would we say, 350 yards a game. But the fact that, again, the offensive line is still a huge question mark, and that there's really no receiver in that room other than, I guess, Ladd McConkey, and even then, who I'm really, again, truly depending on. And even then, I still think they should deserve a C, but I'm going to give them a C+, because, again, I just kind of settled on that. Really good upside of running back. Tight end is going to be fun to watch, and obviously you have an elite quarterback. Again, we'll get into the identity later, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into that with Herbert, and that's kind of why they're at a B and not higher. Alright guys, diving into this Chargers defense, we do have a 3-4, so we'll start with the linebackers before heading into the defensive line, and then we'll again have the edge rushers for our pass rush, and that'll be our front 7. Alright, starting with these linebackers, it's actually a very fun group. First off, Dane Henley's really turned into an absolutely elite coverage linebacker. 2023 as a rookie, he really never got the chance to play because of the fact that he wasn't able to take on blocks at the level that he needed to. 2024, he proved he could do that, sacrificing a little bit of his production coverage. Last year, he kind of remedied them both and had his best year of his career, also taking a little bit more of a blitzing responsibility as well. Like I said, there's a lot more going on there, but there's not. He's a very, very good player, and the Chargers, again, he'd be a huge trade piece if he was to be traded. Denzel Perryman. This is a guy that's bounced around the league for a while now. He was with the Chargers his first, 6 years of his career. Never really broke as an actual, really good player. Again, obviously, he's a sub linebacker. 2021 was his big-time year in terms of, again, not even say really playing, but he was basically the Mike for the Raiders that year. He was absolutely awful in coverage. Next year's with the Raiders and Texans, he improved immensely in terms of his overall consistency. Pastors and the Chargers has kind of served in kind of a more of a leading role despite the injury issues, which have been kind of a theme throughout his career. But you look, again, he's never played more than 15 games. But for me, if Denzel Perryman can get in, he can can give you like 12 games, 13 games, you're going to get a lot out of him. He's an above average player in terms of his performance. He just has the, again, physical capabilities to make a lot of these rangy tackles, on top of the fact that he is able to move upfield because of the fact that he does have an element of power. Again, when a offensive lineman tries to anchor him once they're going downhill. So that kind of sort of wrench in the system with his game is something that a lot of teams need, and he is, again, really fits that. Again, really just the run fits with him is so much easier with like that. Junior Colson, this is a guy that coming out for the Chargers back in 2024. He was supposed to be like their starting linebacker, at least at some point in the future. He just simply was not good enough. And again, most of these linebackers that are young and have some sort of a bright projection, really it's where the instincts fall. That's kind of where you don't really know. Again, it's very hard to project that for linebackers. And the fact that again, that kind of fell off for him is the reason that he is even arguably not even a average backup linebacker. Troy Dye, he's been around a while. He gives you a lot of these interesting matchups against tight ends, on top of the fact that he's very disciplined in his gaps. But again, really his eye discipline is what kind of leads with that. And I think, again, in zone he does get manipulated a little bit, so it's in question there. That's probably his biggest, best trait, though, so it's kind of weird with that. Doshan Phillips is a good blitzer. Molo Wax is probably going to get on the field, like maybe none. He'll see if he makes the roster. But this linebacking core, I'm going to give a B+. There's a lot of talent there. I think Dan Henley has warranted to be given that, and I still think the depth has enough experience where I'm actually pretty confident in it. So this is a pretty damn good linebacking core. Now we move to the D-line. This is a group that really doesn't give you much pass rush at all. Tier Chart's a guy that I still think is at least somewhat effective against as a run defender to kind of just keep him on the field. He is, I'm going to honestly say, immovable. If you get penetration through Tier Chart, I'd be shocked. That's how good a run defender he is. Again, he's just not a guy you move. Dalvin Tomlinson, the tackle, again, this guy's been around for like literally forever. He kind of had his worst game of his career last year, if I'm not going to lie, though. He gave you like, I think like sub 5% pressure rate. He barely got any pressure with his just straight up, again, bull rush. And he has, again, some sort of swipe move off of that, but even that, it's just not really effective. So this guy, for me, I think is below average nose tackle at this point in his career. But again, if that's all you really need out of him to be, again, is it really that big of a deal? And then you have Jamari Caldwell here as well. This is their best pass rushing guy here. He still doesn't really have that high of an upside because of the fact that he's literally no twitch or any sort of agile or speed move from the interior. But he does give you some pretty good burst on top of the fact that you are going to get a very dominant second step out of him, which is something a lot of guards struggle with, again, especially with these guys coming out at this point. So he's your best coming out of the draft, that is. My bad. But anyways, you obviously get very, very low pass rush ratings, at least projectability here, but I'd probably say Caldwell's best guy. Justin, boy, can't pronounce his name. He sucks. Gilroy out of LSU, I'm not going to lie, I think he's probably the most boring player on this team, but he does do a decent job, at least from what I saw at LSU. And Jamari Carter, he's just a Jilly and a Joe there. This D-line is a flat C-. For me, you're getting, like, no pass rush. No, it's probably a D+, if I'm going to be honest. This is the first D-line that I'm kind of questioning now, because, I mean, yeah, Taylor Tart's a good player, but, like, he's not, like, he doesn't really give you anything as a pass rusher. Jamari Keller's best pass rusher, that's really just projecting. The depth is not great, and then you got Dalvin Tomlinson, who's a below average player. So I'm going to say 6 points for the D-line. It's not a strong suit of this team. Now for the pass rush, looking at these edge rushers, it's definitely a group that I think is struggling to gain really development there, but again, the fact that brought in Messidor is a huge get. First, Tuli Tubelotu is a legit #1 guy. He gives you a very nuanced pass rush set with the fact that he has at least 5 different moves of, again, very good variations, as well as his advanced moves, which are also really, really good. I like, again, the technical terms of those, but you don't really need to. You know he's a good player, 13 stacks. But yeah, he is, while he doesn't have any truly elite traits, his diversity and his pass rush skill set are very, very hard to plan for, on top of the fact that he does, I think, have an elite get off, and his bend is also close to elite. So I think that's why, again, he does have some elite traits. I think I was kind of lying on my ass there, but undercutting that. But again, I think it's really just his diversity is about, in terms of his pass rush skill set, that's really allowing him to be, again, this good of a player. Bud Dupree, I guess, is his rotational guy here. This guy's washed, let's be honest. He hasn't really been good since that year with Pittsburgh in 2019. I guess 2020. Bounced around a little bit. At this point in his career, he's kind of the back of the team, good isolation run blocker, and occasionally can, be the guy to the interior. But he's not even a guy you're really looking to be to the outside there. Khalil Mack still putting up numbers. Are they great numbers? No, but again, he's still forcing fumbles every year. Again, 2 years, I guess, removed from that 17 sack season, but again, as a run defender, definitely taking a little bit of a decline. But I still think last year, at least pass production wise, was his best year other than that 2023 season since, again, he left Chicago. So I guess that's good. But yeah, Khalil Mack 35 now. Again, he's wrapping it up here. But is he a #2 guy? Absolutely not at this point in his career to get good rotational. I'm still an elite power rusher. No, I'm joking. He's still has solid power rushes, but definitely expect Messidor to take over that. And I understand he's 25, but he is the most advanced pass rusher and really the refined pass rusher coming out of the draft, other Hamilton, probably lay to Latu, again, who had absolutely no power moves in a hot minute, guys. He just has that technique down, and it's because obviously he's a little bit older. But Akeem, again, as long as he can stay healthy, this is a guy that is going to be a very productive player for a long time. As long as, again, the age doesn't catch up to him. I'm looking like Byron Young in terms of production, even though, obviously, Byron Young is probably the complete opposite player than. Then you have Kyle Kennard, who couldn't get on the field because he simply couldn't get a true counter move off of that bull rush. I think that stiff arm also started to work out, so we'll see what happens there. But, again, they have a pretty legit top 4 guys, and you got a questionable for, again, a number 2. For me, though, again, you got an elite number 1, absolutely nothing from the interior. Decent blitzing. I'm going to give it a B- for their pass rush. You get, I actually probably have to give it a B. I like the depth. You got 2 unks. You got 2 young-ish guys. And then you obviously have a D-line that gives you absolutely nothing. So I'm going to say a B. It's just, again, it's kind of, I want to give them a little bit lower than that just because, again, I really don't think the D-line does really much of anything. But I still have to give it a B because you have a legit number 1 guy, a legit rotation, and linebackers that can at least give you something. So that at least, I think, bumps it up to a B. Okay, guys, moving into the secondary before we reveal the overall grade. I don't even know what it is yet. There, that's even better. Again, this secondary really doesn't look too much different from last year, except, again, really just, I guess, not yet. This defense really doesn't look much different at all. First off, obviously, the 2 2024 draft picks, Cam Hart and Tariq, still continue to have good seasons. Cam Hart, though, they put him a lot more in the boundary last year and kind of a lot of more press situations, and we saw some good things out of him, but really the biggest thing I think that we saw is that, again, if he's not able to, again, jam him really straight off the line, he kind of has struggles in recovery. But, again, it's kind of a paradox sort of thing, though, because of the fact that in zone coverage, he really gets beat very often, and then the recovery comes in a lot. So, kind of a weird sort of season from Cam Hart, but again, still a guy that you're going to see definitely above average play out of. Then, obviously, you have Rodney Shelley. I'm not going to lie, guys, I've never heard of this dude out of Georgia. No, I've heard of him. But he wasn't very much of a standout at Georgia Tech, other than the fact that he was able to tackle pretty cleanly, and he really didn't give up too many big plays, but he just not really much of a playmaker at all. Disciplined enough where I think he could definitely be a solid backup, but at least, again, physically, in terms of the flash, stuff like that, that's just really not there, and his technique really isn't, again, refined enough to really see him, again, as a guy I really paid attention to really much of all except a couple of games of tape in the draft. Dante Jackson on the other side, he's now 30. Again, he's really a guy you look at who's going to be a dominant, not really a dominant, that's not really the right word, an instinctive zone hawk. Because the fact that man coverage, while he can stick, he does not have the hip fluidity consistently to really, again, see that, despite him being one of the more faster corners in football. Again, he's also never been really that strong of a tackler. I do think, though, he is an above-average corner when he's going, but really, he's an average guy, we'll be honest. Jalen Leonard, he actually had a pretty damn good season last year, not going to lie. I'm joking, guys. I'm trolling. Jalen Leonard has not been much of a factor on this team in a couple of years now, which isn't good. And then you have, again, a couple Waxer's going to get freaking waxed. Tariq still is turning into a very high-level playmaking slot. He's kind of a gambler at times, though there are, again, I will say last year there were a couple of slants that were ran against him where he got absolutely wiped. But other than that, again, he did pretty damn well good. Derwin James, I think at this point in the league, is my number 1 safety behind Kyle Hamilton. So I guess he's number 2 safety. Just the level to which he makes plays every year, on top of the fact that he really never gets beat at this point in his career, is just, again, it's kind of hard to argue with. I mean, again, obviously the first 2 years, everyone's talking about the injury issues after his again all-time rookie season, but again, really ever since, he's been one of the better guys in the league. I will say 2023, though, he kind of had a down year. The past 2 years, he's just kind of turned it up and turned into, again, really back to where you wanted him to be. Derwin James is absolutely phenomenal. Tony Jefferson has turned into a really good depth guy for this team. He does basically everything they need him to. Kind of a linebacker role at this point in his career, but he brings a lot of physicality, and in coverage, it's very hard to get open on him, again, if you don't win at the top of the route. And then you have also Elijah Molden, who is, again, basically, I guess, took over the Aloha Gimlin role. More of a place where you can kind of not have them to work so much on the boundary, but more in the middle of the field. That's why their defense really didn't give as many big plays last year, other than the Texans game. But yeah, Elijah Molden's turning into a very good boundary, center fielder, who, again, won't be asked to do too much other than that. Genesis Smith, I think, could turn into a starting guy for him. He obviously has rare length there at 6'2", 202, but the biggest thing is, can he become at least somewhat of a respectable enough tackler to kind of justify putting him in the field consistently? Because he does have a lot of the physical traits that you want there. Anyways, I guess we didn't grade them both. Corner, for me, is going to be a B. I'm going to probably say a B. I like where it's going. It's just the depth is just not there, let's be honest. And again, none of those guys are particularly, I think, yeah, Dante Jackson's probably a high upside guy. Not really high upside. He can make big plays, but he's more of an average guy. Cam Hart's I'd probably say an above average guy, even though weird year last year. And Tariq still definitely is. So I'm gonna say a B there, corner, which is gonna be 16 points. Then we looked at safety. For me, it's gonna be an A-. I don't think Elijah Molden is really, again, well versed enough to really put him in that B tier. Honestly, Joe James is already the best safety in the league, so it really doesn't matter. The depth is also good, so you could argue it's an A, but I'm going to say an A- though, just to the fact that I don't think Elijah Mullen's truly there. Screw it, I'm giving No, I think if they had Gilman, it would be an A, maybe an A+. There's better safety duos in the league, though, so I'm going to say an A-. That's going to be 9, 18, 27, 30 points of safety. I want to give them more, but that's where we're going to sit. And if we add all that up for this defense, 27 plus 6 plus 28. There we go. Plus 16 plus 30. We're going to get 107 points for this defense. That is going to put them in the B- tier. Again, Jesse Minter's group from last year. Again, really didn't get too much worse in terms of the talent. It's just, again, how much do they project with the struggles they have in the D-line, and also maybe not having the most, again, proven pass rush there either. Alright guys, last couple things before we get to the overall grade. First off, Dicker the kicker is in fact their guy. He is an absolute freaking bombshell of a kicker. Don't think I was going anywhere else with that. But yes, Dicker is absolutely freaking phenomenal. J.K. Scott's been their punter a while. I think he's only like 28 now. He's 30, okay. He's been around since 2018, I guess, yeah. But yeah, he's a very solid punter. Has a decent leg. It's just the fact that I don't think you get the most consistency out of him at times, so I guess that's it. Darius Davis has kind of been irrelevant the past couple years, but he's, again, him and Keaton Mitchell are both threats to take it the whole way, and then Josh Harris, from what I've heard, is a little bit of a shaky long snapper, but he's not too bad. And then obviously you have a special teams unit here that has had their struggles in the past, but I'm going to say, yeah, we'll play a C, C+. As good as, no, Digger the kicker kind of gives him a factor. I'll say a B. So, again, after that, again, swift mood change. We're going to say 8 points there for the special teams unit. All right, depth of this team. Quarterback depth scares me, D+. Running back depth, I'm going to give an A. Not an A, probably a B+ with the injury history. So B+, what are we on, a D+? We're probably at a C. Yeah, we'll say a C. Probably more like a C+, but we'll say a C. Receiver depth, I'd probably give a D, which is going to give us not even a D. We're going to say a D-. It's not good. Yeah, we'll say a D. That's probably down to a D, C-. Tight end depth, I'd give a B+, probably A-. We're probably up to a C+ with that. O-line depth, I'd give a D+. We're probably down to, what did we say? A C. So if we're at a C there, D-line depth, I'd probably give a D, which we're probably down to a C there. Yeah. C, linebacker depth, I'd give a B, so we're probably up, still sitting at a C. Edge rusher depth, I'd give a B, probably up to B+ now. Cornerback and safety depth combined, I'd probably say is a B-ish. So I'm going to say we're going to end with a C+, which is kind of crazy because, again, it wasn't looking too hot there for them. But yeah, there's some positions that need a lot, that are lacking a lot of depth, and other ones that are looking pretty good. So kind of a mixed bag there with 24 points. The identity of this team now, again, obviously Jim Harbaugh's their head coach. There's not really much change in there, which is a good thing. But the fact that this Justin Herbert has not won a playoff game in 6 years in his career is just absolutely ridiculous. That's going to get to him at some point. Again, if you're a teammate of his and you're just like, bro, he can't win the big one, go ahead and say that. But really, the identity of this team is shaped around how good his offensive line can play on a consistent level, because there were times last year where they really weren't even that bad. It was a lot of poor performance that mixed in with some unfortunate offensive coordinator decisions that kind of put them in those spots. But still, that offensive line obviously was absolutely horrid last year. And that's going to be a big reason where this team's going to go this year. Defensively, you're looking at it, it's going to be over-relying on Alec Tuipulotu. If he is not on the field, this is going to be a defense that'll struggle. But again, the X Factors, Akeem Messidor and even Genesis Smith are both things that you want to look at for sure. But still, this is a defense that is pretty well-rounded that I think, again, will really help them. But for me and where they're going to go here, again, a lot of the, again, floor of this team is on Derwin James, at least defensively as well. Forgot to mention that. But I think that Jim Harbaugh, it does have at least them in somewhat of the right direction. But I'm probably going to still say a C for their identity because of the fact that this is just a team that I'm not too confident in going there that will really be able to, again, can they break through? I don't think that's going to happen. They've back-to-back seasons, they've played teams that, again, they could easily beat in the playoffs. Haven't happened. And again, it's just something that I'm not really, again, too bought into there. So we've got 120, 107, 25, 24. And 8 points there. That's going to give the Chargers 284 points. That is going to put them in the B- tier, which I think is where this roster belongs. They have some elite players sprinkled throughout the roster, but the fact this team is still stagnating in this way is just something that I can't really sit with. But still, this is a team that again, has, again, a lot of talent, and it'll be interesting to see where they go. Again, 284 points comes from the fact that I think they're, again, really regressing and not getting better. Like, that's what I mean by that. So, that's all I have for y'all. Hope you guys enjoyed this Chargers roster grade, and I'm telling you, this next team definitely is the worst defense than these Chargers did last year.
They enter the backfield with a four-man rush into Herbert. Batted down, picked off. Look who's got it. The big man, Lawrence. The quarterback can't get him. Inside the 5. Interception. Giants goal to go.
Previous play, he's right here. He's going to get double teamed. Watch as he starts to work upfield. He knows he's getting double teamed. So what do? You look at the quarterback and try and time your hands. And then the ball comes right back to him. Herbert's the only one capable Unbelievable play by Lawrence.